Hey, welcome to Front Porch Radio. I'm Julie Wilder, and it's summertime, and there's summer storms, and it looks like the forecast is a little sketchy. We're supposed to get a deluge. I think last night there was like some sort of maybe flash flood warning, and I'm like, should I stay here the whole time, or should I head out early because it's raining, you guys, or it will be if it's not yet. So yeah, and I guess it was lightning so freaking badly that it knocked out like I don't know if it was one or two, but I think like the Jacksonville, I don't know, radar system got struck by lightning and is on the fritz. And I think the only functional like major radar system that's still up in Florida right now is in Tampa. So yeah, and apparently, like, the lightning right now is, like, extra lightning. Like, apparently some lightning doesn't always come down to the ground, and right now we have the kind that's, like, really likes to strike and hurt things. And so being extra precautious out there in the world about, getting into the pool and taking walks, because, yeah, there's some stuff going on out there. Um, so yeah. Look lively, you guys. It's definitely going to rain this evening. Um, that being said, I just wanted to share something that came across my radar, my own personal radar today. And Andrea Gibson, who was like she was a poet laureate, and a lot of people um, knew and followed her. She just kind of was one of these people that lived their life out loud and had incredible poetry. And she's been uh, doing that dance that people do with cancer for several years now. And according to her family, did dance into the great beyond, whatever that is, question mark, right? This morning, and they posted a poem that that they wrote. Um, and it's called The Love Letter from the Afterlife. And it was so beautiful. I decided that maybe you would want to hear it too. And maybe it would make you think of somebody special that maybe would, I don't know, just bring you some like a little warm hug from the beyond the now, right? So this is a poem called Love Letter from the Afterlife. My love, I was so wrong. Dying is the opposite of leaving. When I left my body, I did not go away. That portal of light was not a portal to elsewhere, but a portal to here. I am more here than I ever was before. I am more with you than I ever could have imagined. So close you look past me when wondering where I am. It's okay. I know that to be human is to be farsighted, but feel me now, walking the chambers of your heart, pressing my palms to the soft walls of your living. Why did no one tell us that to die is to be reincarnated in those we love while they are still alive? Ask me the altitude of heaven, and I will answer, how tall are you? In my back pocket is a love note with every word you wish you'd said. At night, I sit ecstatic at the loom, weaving forgiveness into our worldly regrets. All day, I listen to the radio of your memories. Yes, I know every secret you thought too dark to tell me, and love you more for everything you feared might make me love you less. When you cry, I guide your tears towards the garden of kisses I once planted on your cheek, so you know they are all perennials. Forgive me for not being able to weep with you. One day you will understand. One day you will know why I read the poetry of your grief to those waiting to be born, and they are all the more excited. There is nothing I want for now that we are so close, I open the curtain of your eyelids with my own smile every morning. I wish you could see the beauty your spirit is right now, making of your pain, your deep-seated fears playing musical chairs, laughing about how real they are not. My love, I want to sing it through the rafters of your bones. Dying is the opposite of leading. I want to echo it through the corridors of your temples. I am more with you than I ever was before. Do you understand? It was me who beckoned the stranger, who caught you in her arms when you forgot not to order for two at the coffee shop. It was me who was up all night, gathering sunflowers into your chest, the last day you feared you would never again wake up feeling lighthearted. I know it's hard to believe, but I promise it's the truth. I promise one day you will say it too. I can't believe I ever thought I could lose you. Man, can't believe I made it through without crying. That was the last poem of Andrea Gibson. And yeah, they are free. They are here. They are with you. And I hope that brought something. I don't know, just something to you. Little sparkle of remembrance and beauty. That will go a really long way. And that reminds me that I also saw that Doug Rodemel was going to be doing he's doing an event in remembrance of Dave Plotkin, who is also in the great beyond or the great now or wherever Dave would like you to think he is. And there is a reception for this at the Castleberry Arts Center Friday, July 18th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Castleberry Sculpture House. It's called Flight of the Picklefish, a tribute installation for Dave Plotkin by Doug Rodemel. And Doug, I hope I'm saying your last name correctly. And he's going to create an immersive tribute installation made entirely of discarded cardboard, discardboard, he says, to honor the memory of friend Dave Plotkin. So I'm sure you can find that. But if you want to check that out, Flight of the Picklefish. It's Friday, July 18th. Is that this Friday? It might be. I don't even know what day it is. Yep, it's this Friday. And I'm definitely going to make my way down there because Dave Plotkin was incredible. And Doug Rodemel is a fantastic artist who's been doing cool art installations since I can remember. I found him by following he's the guy that does the mushroom paper bag installs. I don't know if he still does those, but I remember, gosh, back in like so long ago when I was living downtown, I would be like, what are these paper bag mushrooms? And then one day you figure it out and you're like, that's cool, man. How you guys doing? How you feeling? I know for me, it's been really just enjoying the summertime right now. It was a difficult first 6 months for me personally, just because I had so much going on and been burnt out, been shook up, been thawing out. I don't know. Been hanging out, trying to just take it easy and do things that are fun and engaging and not a lot of pressure. Because you know what? There's like this whole like thing going on in the States that and around the world. It's like this pendulum swinging, from progress to, how far can we take it back, right? And I have to say, like, I was just kind of posting something, and I'm kind of debating whether I'll read it out loud to you or not, about the Alligator Alcatraz situation, and you know, I recognize that a lot of people are not really, you know, I have this ability to be able to read terrible, horrible things, and I don't know if it's just like my childhood of being in a terrible household, so you learn to emotionally disassociate or something like that. But I have an ability to be able to read things and not let it totally wreck my day. I mean, sometimes it does. Like I'm human. I'm not like totally unaffected, of course. Um, but I am able to take in really alarming things without letting it completely ruin my day. So even though I share with you some of these things that are going on in the world, it's not to ruin your day. It is to do this thing I call witnessing. It's very important that we witness what's going on, that we also look for the helpers, as Mr. Rogers would say. And we notice the good troublemakers. That are out there doing cool things, and then also notice maybe some progress as we look around in people that we're thinking maybe were lost causes. And so there's been a lot going on. I mean, we had all of that the flooding in Texas, which looks like it was an incredibly horrific situation. And I just watched a clip of a sheriff who's been very outspoken against immigrants and, no friend to immigrant. Let's just put it that way. And he basically gave a press conference because there was a group of rescuers from Mexico that crossed the border to help, and ended up actually saving his family. And he basically was like, y'all are welcome anytime. And I, basically owe a debt of gratitude and, you know, things like that. And of course you also see, this big rift. And I don't even know how or why it's happening right now because I don't know, from my perspective, this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing seemed so blatantly obvious that I mean, it seems clear to me that Trump has always been on the list and was never going to intend to release the list. And I was like, why is the MAGA universe suddenly upset that he's not releasing the list? I mean, they can't have possibly believed he wasn't on it because there's all of this evidence that him and Jeffrey Epstein were besties. In like in like the word, like the literal way. Um, and I was reading someone who said, oh, well, it's not that they care probably that he's on the list because they've been able to overlook tons of things. Um, but it's the fact that he's not using the list to take down the supposed enemies like the Clintons and whatever else that they've been blaming it on for this whole time. And so, they're just like, why aren't you destroying the people? And then there's also like the fact that like, who needs the actual list? We've had the victims name names, like we can't just believe them. We gotta believe an investigation, instead of the women who've actually been saying it all along. So if you want, I don't know, guys. So we do anyway, but we have cracks in the MAGAverse that, people are suddenly feeling alarmed about that. And, good on you guys for waking up a little tiny bit. We got to give everyone a little props when just little tiny props when they get it. But there's also one of the things I want to talk about, which sorry, it might be a little bit much, but I just invite you into a little bit of emotional resilience right now because we can do hard things. Life is brutal. And those are some Glennon Doyle Melton quotes, by the way. She's fantastic. I love what she does. But um, we have a situation happening in our own state here, and several of our incredible representatives and progressive politicians have been down to what they're calling and branding and selling merch for Alligator Alcatraz. Like, I didn't, having merch sold for concentration camps is like a new level of just grossness. But here we are. And, looking for the helpers, I see Representative Dr. Anna Escamani out there, going down, putting on the mosquito nets to check on the situation and the people that are there. And, there's just a lot of people that are helping. There's people out there documenting. I saw somebody was documenting, oh, here's the food trucks that are coming in to, serve this, the staff or whatever, with the idea that maybe people would boycott the food trucks. And so it's a very interesting thing because if you look at it, there's a lot of dark, bad stuff, but there's also these beautiful acts of resistance, of sabotage. There's pictures of fire trucks literally blocking ICE vehicles from coming into their town. There's a lot of courageous action to stop these illegal acts of kidnapping that are going on, that are targeting not just barely just undocumented immigrants, but also U.S. citizens. And regardless, none of it is being done legally. So I follow this thought leader. Her name's Sharon Asked. I don't know how you say it. It's Astyk. She's written a couple of books. And I had her on I think I had her on my program long time ago. And she is, she's kind of like this progressive prepper lady. If I had to sum her up, but not just in a very practical kind of way. And she's just cool. And she's got some stuff to say, a lot of times. And one of the things, I need to tell you that, before I read this, that she's Jewish, because it is relevant to the conversation. And this is, I'm gonna kind of try to paraphrase it, but this is a really good history lesson as we're talking about, because one of the things that that I think gets people start fighting over words, and then it detracts from like the thing, right? And so I think that a history lesson right now is really, really important so that we can be using the proper words to describe what's happening. And so this is, I'm reading from Sharon's post from earlier, like an hour ago. So this is like breaking news. It says, okay, there's stuff circulating from some of the Jewish community that it is somehow offensive or demeaning to refer to Alligator Alcatraz as a concentration camp and compare it to Nazi camps, and that it diminishes the Holocaust because people aren't being gassed or straight out murdered. So let's talk about that. First of all, while most Americans know the term concentration camp best from the Nazi era, the term was not original to the Germans or Nazis. It was originally reconcentrado camps for Cubans under the Spanish. They were conceived by the Governor General of Cuba explicitly to punish civilians who had or might have provided food or shelter to rebels against the Spanish, and they were framed as punishment camps for potential crimes. Lest you buy any argument that these were not intentionally cruel, but simply internment, let's look at Arsenio Martinez Campos, the Governor General of Cuba. Obviously, I have no Spanish accent or Cuban accent, or I'm a white lady. Okay, so I apologize for butchering that. Who argued that the only way to stop the rebels against them was with extraordinary cruelty, but shied away from imposing it himself and recognized that the Cuban rebels had behaved ethically. He quite literally wrote to the Spanish government in 1895 and asked them to send a crueler leader so that his policies could be enacted, and they did. The new governor had already been known as the Butcher, and under him, the reconcentrados killed 150,000 Cubans, mostly through starvation and disease. You probably learned the phrase, remember the Maine in history class, but you haven't got much context for that term. The Maine was sunk delivering food to starving Cubans, and the justification for war, as President McKinley stated, was the intolerable cruelty of the reconcentrado camps. 6 years later, however, when the U.S. was fighting over other colonies in the Philippines, the U.S. established concentration camps there. Around the same time, the British began concentrating the Boer people, mostly women and kids, into camps in South Africa during the Boer War. The Dutch also established Boven-Diegel concentration camps in Indonesia. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing any of these things right, but we can't wait till we're perfect to do things in times like these. So forgive me. Carrying on, the Germans did the same, killing 70,000 Nambian and Nama people. Later, the Ottomans would do the same to Armenians as part of the Armenian genocide. And all of these were explicitly called concentration camps and met the legal definition. The legal definition of a concentration camp is a camp, usually under the governance of the military or secret police, where civilians are interned without trial, indefinitely, without legal redress. In general, mass murder or death is also part of it, but often due to neglect and lack of human rights. The defining factor is the imprisonment of civilians without trial or legal redress. The first Nazi concentration camps were established in 1933 for communist and other political prisoners. Most were closed in 1934, and then new ones were reopened under Himmler, who explicitly first established the policy of extermination through labor starting in 1936, and then received authorization for the death camps in 1939, which means that when the camps, Dachau was among the first, were established, they were not explicitly death camps, but rapidly became them, much in the way Alligator Alcatraz is being claimed to be an internment camp. The underlying assumption of the claim that we should not use this term is the assumption that concentration camps are primarily a reference to the Shoah, Shoah, which we can see is not true. The term was in use before the Shoah and remains in current use. Places where the U.S. State Department, for example, have used that term include camps created in response to the Mau Mau rebellion and the French camps that killed millions of Algerians. Our own national websites, if they are still standing, use the term for China's current Ungar camps, and it has been applied in the modern era to the Soviet gulags and the American-Japanese internment camps, and is specifically used on U.S. memorials to the Japanese internment camps. If you didn't object to its use for any of that, Sharon is saying, I fail to see how you can object now. Moreover, the idea that only extermination camps count as concentration camps if they intentionally are committing mass murder has drawn a lot of historical scrutiny and critique, among the other reasons because it would exclude most of the deaths of Jews, Romani, communists, and the disabled and LGBTQ people prior to the orders of 1939. And the American Holocaust Museum, in its listing of all camps and ghettos, explicitly includes the early internment camps. We don't just include the mass deaths from externment camps, we include those like Anne Frank, who died of disease and forced labor or of exposure and hunger. From a legal standpoint, a historical standpoint, and a definitional standpoint, Alligator Alcatraz is a concentration camp. Moreover, its design in the Everglades is explicitly to cause mass deaths of those interned there by drowning and disease. Florida lawmakers have already explicitly said that the camp will not be evacuated in the event of a hurricane. The fact that MAGA leadership is importing more alligators and explicitly talking about murdering people through alligator attack, and that Laura Loomer recently talked about incarcerating all 63 million Latinos in camps makes it very clear what their intentions are. It is not yet an extermination camp, but we can expect that the death rate will be high due to disease, lack of medical care, hunger, drowning, and disaster. We already know of at least 10 deaths in ICE custody, and that's probably the tiniest part of it. Letting the weather and disease do the killing is a historic part of concentration camps. The Shoah, which is the Jewish word for the genocide against the Jews, is a specific horror, a kind of industrialized racist mass murder that was specific to its moment. That is not true of concentration camps that have a long history both before and after, and the fact that most Americans don't know that history reflects not on the uniqueness of German camps, but on our lack of knowledge of colonial history and the erasure of the suffering of non-white people. I'm going to read that one again because it might take a second to rink in. And and if you're just tuning in, I'm reading from author Sharon Ask's Facebook post, and she's saying that the Shoah, which is, I don't know if I'm saying it right, I'm so sorry. That's the Jewish word for the Holocaust, is a specific horror, a kind of industrialized racist mass murder that was specific to its moment. And the fact that most Americans don't know that history that I just said reflects not on the uniqueness of German camps, but on our own lack of knowledge of our own U.S. colonial history and the erasure and suffering of non-white people. So um, I'm just kind of adding in here that basically our lack of knowledge is by intent and design because they don't teach the history very well here. Okay, so continuing on, concentration camps are a thing that have been repeated over and over again, have always been designed to be cruel and inhumane and to cause mass death. Although the specific details of their cruelty and inhumanity and the ways they have caused those deaths have varied, and they have a legal definition outside the Holocaust that is important to recall. So she says, I completely agree that Alligator Alcatraz is not yet a death camp, but by the time it is, it will be too late to call it by its name and is clearly headed in that direction. In my opinion, she says it is exactly the wrong way of thinking to try and preserve that term as a solely Jewish thing rather than devoting ourselves to making sure American concentration camps don't effing exist. So she is a very knowledgeable person to follow. Her name is Sharon Astyk. I'm Astyk. If you want to follow her, she has a bunch of links to the references in that profile. And she is, I'm just looking at her profile here. I'm like, oh, she's Leo. That tracks. Yeah. So yeah, I know that was a lot of information and we're talking about a very intense topic right there. But it's in our literal, not our backyard, but our swamp, the Everglades here in Florida. And if you've seen the photos of it, you can tell immediately that the plan is for one lightning bolt to hit and everybody would be, struck by lightning and hopefully perish, probably by design, because it is a metal cage with metal bunks in a flooded swamp. And one stroke of lightning would injure quite a few people. So important to pay attention to because it's right in our backyard. And what can we do when, let's like something that my kid asked me, like, what are we going to do with the fact that there's concentration camps, Mom? And that's a tough one. I don't really have a playbook for that one as far as parenting advice. Because what I said is, I'm struggling with it. I'm certainly doing what I can to prepare myself, my community, my colleagues, as much as they're willing to listen to me, and to just encourage people to stay informed. The budget that was just passed has increased the ICE funding exponentially in ways that most people cannot even comprehend yet. But, it's not a foregone conclusion that that budget is going to result in what the schemes and dreams are of the people who are passing it, because we have power as people. We have each other, and we have a lot of brilliance and courage and cleverness about us to work at the moments and in the right ways to make sure that our country does not fall into the darkness. And we just have to find that. So what I'm doing, I'm strengthening. Where you feel weak, get strong. Like one of these people that has excellent metabolism. Don't hate me for it. But I don't have to work out. I know I sound like a jerk when I say that, but I don't feel particularly physically strong. And so I've been starting to go on walks. It's been something I've been wanting to do. So going to walks, maybe after that I'll get into lifting some weights. Maybe after that I'll go take a self-defense class. Anywhere that you feel like you need to get strong so that you can have courage. That's really what you should be focusing on if you're not in the immediate crossfire or vicinity to be able to help those that are. Yeah. So yeah, sorry to be a bummer. Front Porch Radio, Julie Wilder, talking to you out of Rollins College. I have a show every Monday at 4:00, and a lot of times I have a guest with me, and sometimes I just sit here and just tell you what's on my mind and on my heart. Sometimes I play music. Sometimes I warn you about the weather. And we do have some intense weather out there, so you guys should kind of pay attention to what's going on, right? Let's take a little bit of a music break. All right. And perfect timing while we were on that musical break. I got a text message from my friend Rachel. Thanks, Rachel. I don't even think she was listening. And she was just like, "Hey, do you know this is going on tomorrow?" And I was like, "Well, I do now, and thanks for letting me know." And so just for the break, I was like talking about how my daughter was wondering what we're going to do about the concentration camps. And I laugh because that's the only thing you can do at a ridiculous time like this, horrifying times like this. And so my friend Rachel, who's been on this program before, she just let me know that there is tomorrow, Tuesday, July 15th at 9:30 a.m. There is there's a coalition called the Immigrants Are Welcome Here Coalition, and they are speaking before the mayor and county commissioners at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. And they say that they're asking to end the Intergovernmental Services Agreement contract and set up a public hearing on the topic at the county commissioner's office. I think that I'm going to read you something else. There's also a petition going around by the Hope Community Center that is worth looking into if this is a concerning issue to you. And we have had people from the Hope Community Center on our program before. They're good people doing really good work. And they kind of released a statement saying in Orange County, Florida, the number of people imprisoned for immigration violations has increased by 400% this year. This is an emergency. Our county jail is one of only a few in the state that are authorized to hold people for ICE, which means that we must lead the way to protect our neighbors from serious due process violations. Our non-citizen neighbors who ICE is targeting are not the only ones who are horrified by the deportations we have seen. Due process is a fundamental principle for all of us, and as citizens and voters, we cannot abide by these violations of our neighbors' civil rights. Every day, news stories emerge of neighbors experiencing life-altering mistreatment that Orange County's collaboration is facilitating. When someone is taken from an Orange County facility and disappears, cut off from their family and even often from their attorney, there is no meaningful due process. Families can go days without knowing what city or even what county their loved one is in. When Orange County allows a centralized clearinghouse for ICE detentions in our community with our tax dollars, it contributes to the erosion of due process. And when our county's taxpayer dollars are being used to fund unjust detentions and deportations, we have a fiscal and moral responsibility to demand it stop. Our resources should go towards jobs, education, and community well-being, not towards tearing families apart. Right now, Orange County has multiple agreements with ICE and is collaborating beyond the legal requirements. Also, hold on, I lost my place. In Florida, and so they're basically asking the Orange County commissioners and mayor to terminate their contracts with ICE. And that is like going around right now. Hope Community Center are great people to follow for more information. It looks like they're on top of things, and it does look like there is a way. Maybe I'll take my kiddo tomorrow to say, hey, at least we showed up to speak up for before the mayor and the county commissioners. That's at 9:30 tomorrow. So yeah, thank you, Rachel, so much for just doing your duty out there, making things happen as she always does, and informing us, because that was literally the question I was asking myself. What can we do? Well, you know what? That's a lot of information. Apparently, Orange County is one of the only authorized detention centers. Obviously, Alligator Alcatraz is also in there. But yeah, we can show up and talk to our commissioners and use the processes that we have in place to the best of our ability, even though other people aren't using the processes in place, but sigh. Anyway, hopefully that gives you guys some resources to look for. Hope Community Center is a really on the ground grassroots organization that has been working with the immigrant community for a very, very long time, and on rights and humanitarian issues with them for a very long time. So you can look them up and talking to the Orange County Commissioners tomorrow. So thank you all so much for paying attention, for, not tuning everything out, but also finding ways to balance that. It kind of reminds me of something that last time I saw Rachel, we were at we were at a start of a show. I don't remember who was playing, but she told me this amazing, back in the 80s when there was a lot of activism going on for the LGBTQI++ community. She said we had a saying that, and I hope I'm saying it right, Rachel, if you did tune in, but we, I want to get it right. We fight in the morning. She used the F word, but make love in the afternoon. And then we dance all night. And that was the way that the movement was able to keep going. So a good balance of, making sure that loving and joy were as just as integral and important to everyday life as standing up for up for and to the people that needed to be stood up to. So Rachel, you're awesome. I love you. And grateful that she is listening, and I did get it right. Thanks, Rachel. I am so grateful for, she's giving me more information. The address is 201 South Roslyn Avenue, in Orlando, Florida. And that is going to be the Orange County Commissioner meeting tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. to ask them to cancel the contracts with, ICE. So yeah, see, if you just hang out long enough with me, you'll get some good information. Maybe Rachel, you should come on your show with me soon. I got to start booking more guests. Yeah, I feel like I have made an accomplishment of finding some good action for us to participate in right here in our domestic location of Central Florida. And I'm grateful for all of you listeners. I hope that you have stay safe tonight in this deluge that's about to happen. And you have, penciled into your calendar tomorrow a morning activity of standing up for the rights of due process and making sure that our friends are not being treated inhumanely. Because this is the era we're in. We're in the American arc and era where if you didn't think it was your time to shine, well, now it is. This is it. Got to lean into those archetypes, having courage, brave of the brave, the home of the brave, right? Land of the free. Yep. Got to really lean into it. Got to lean into it. If you've never leaned into it before, that's okay. It's a lot of fun. We're going to have a good time. We are. It's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. You'll love it. Stay tuned. There's more music next.